Hello again, YouTube. My name is Bree, and in today's video, I am back in my sketchbook made for me by my friend Spofgh, and I'm trying out a brand new paper to me, and that is this very glittery paper from Paul Ruben. So this paper has a glitter, a shimmer built right into it. It is a cotton paper, cold press, but a very, very fine grain, so it's almost hot press, and it is just extremely distracting. From the moment I drew on this kind of like in a dark room, and I was very careful because I didn't know this paper at all. And I've heard other people use it and say it's very delicate. It pills easily, it lifts easily, you could destroy it with a pencil. So I was very nervous trying it out. So I very gently applied a sketch. I tried not to erase or change things. And then I started to go over it with watercolor, but I was very cautious with it going in because, yeah, I knew of one other person on a Discord server who talked about it and had issues. So immediately I was just very nervous about trying this paper. But yeah, my experience with it was actually pretty solid. So like I said, I didn't try erasing too much or going too hard with a pencil, so I can't say much there. One thing I did notice, and I thought this was obvious right away and actually thought it was an issue with the paper or like the cheek and the nose, where I went and started to apply extra paint and blend it out. Basically working with my standard technique, I noticed it was lifting the paint and leaving that cooler, lighter spot, because this paper is a little cool tinted for white paper. And so immediately I was like, oh no, this paper is never going to work out. But what was actually happening is this paper just stays wet for a really long time, it seems. And with some pigments, it seems to lift really easily. And then on others, it doesn't want to lift at all. So on the cheek, I did try to carve out a little bit. It didn't want to lift at all. So there was a little highlight I wanted to put back in there that I kind of just had to sacrifice. I really didn't have any problems with this paper pilling or misbehaving. At the end, I will apply heat. I used a very gentle washi tape instead of my normal painter tape, just to be extra cautious, but the tape peeled beautifully. So yeah, next time I'll probably try to abuse this paper a little more and see how it behaves. I actually left a little space at the top. I wanted to do swatches before. I was like, oh, it won't look good, so I'll just wait till after. But I'll probably go back and use that strip at the top to swatch a few different media, gouache, watercolor, and just kind of see how much you can do until the glitter stops showing through. And also just abuse it a bit more and see if I do get those pills or how much it really can layer. Obviously, it can layer quite a bit because I do layer a lot of paint on here. But yeah, definitely a different experience to work with this paper. Like I said, it did dry pretty slowly to the point where when I just felt done with it and I wanted to finish up the video, do the paint peel, but I had to bring out the heat gun to finish drying it because the shirt would not dry. And yeah, the shirt, we're just not going to talk about the shirt too much. It doesn't look so good. Been a tough week, so I've been saying that a lot. I really want to be able to be like, it was a great week, but I've just been hurting a little bit. So when I was done, I was done. This was kind of experimental anyway. I didn't actually expect this to work out, and I thought I would just have to skip to next week or start a new video, but it worked out okay. I'm really surprised. I didn't know what to expect, but not so bad. I did notice that colors do, and I want to test this as well with a scrap of a different paper, they do seem to come out more muted. So I think things just dry down a lot more into this paper than they would normally, but I also haven't been working with my Schmincke palette quite as much recently, so I do want to, and that's what I'm painting with today, so I do kind of want to do a side-by-side with a scrap of like another watercolor paper brand, whether it be with my Etcher sketchbook or a little scrap of Arches or something, and just see how it compares one-to-one between this paper and that, to see if it was just me or if it really is the paper. So yeah, once again, saving that little strip at the top for that later, but I don't have the energy to do that tonight, so I can update you another time or in the comments, we'll see. So yeah, like I really wasn't really going for anything in particular, I had done the Demon Boy like 2 weeks ago for a video, so my initial thought was like I should do someone lighter, maybe an angel, and I got lazy and it's just a dude. I don't have much story to this. When I was talking to some friends on Discord about this paper, because I was wondering if anyone else had used it and if they had any ways they liked working with it, to really show off the glitter and do something fun. They didn't really know what I was talking about, so I shared a little piece of this painting and immediately got like Twilight vampire references. So that was, I keep thinking about that now, and no, that's not what I was going for at all. But yeah, I'm thinking this paper might be a lot of fun to work with like ink and ink washes. So you have that black and white, but then the sparkle behind it. Like, I'm not going to do Inktober this year, partly because, well, just no, I'm done with that. But this would be really cool for some ink drawings, I think, whether it's just line work, maybe the opaque or like the heavier black ink would mask it completely, and then you have the sparkle coming through where you have ink washes. So I don't know, maybe I'll try something along those lines too, because I think that would be a lot of fun. So new and exciting opportunities. The glitter itself was very distracting though, and I know this is something that like if you use it a few times you'll probably just stop seeing it and it won't be quite as distracting. But as I was painting, especially since I was sitting at an angle to the paper and the light, I was just seeing that sparkle and it was very, very distracting. Then the moment like I started to adjust to it, instead I would see white spots and be like, how did I miss painting a spot there? And then try to paint over it, and I didn't need to. It's just a piece of glitter. So it was a little jarring to work with, but I don't think it's really a problem once you get used to it. We'll see. But yeah, it'll be a fun section to play with. I'll have to come up with some creative ways to use it and see what happens. I think I also have a really, really teeny tiny sketchbook with this as well. So I don't know, glitter birds or something else. We'll see. I have no idea. Lots to come up with, lots of ideas to play with. But yeah. Otherwise, yeah, this is just my Schmincke palette, which I meant to do the mixing in the top 2 sections so you can see what I was mixing, but I completely forgot the moment I started painting, so that's completely cropped off. Oops. I figure if I'm painting something that's square and I have space on camera to have the mixing space, I can show it off, but nope. That's 2 weeks in a row where I just didn't do it. I think it was last week too. Last video. I don't know. I'm very tired lately and thinking is really hard. So what else is going on? In the last video I talked about how I was going to read Radium Girl soon, and I did read that. And it was a very emotional read. I vaguely talked about in the last video, but essentially it's the story of these dial painters back during the 20s and 30s in the United States who were painting luminescent dials for use on watches or aircraft, or would it have been aircraft? Maybe it was just navigation equipment. And it was heavily used during World War I, but they were painting with a paint made with small amounts of radium, and they were told to tip the brushes in their mouth when they painted. So they would take these brushes that were still really fine and just a few hairs, but then they had to make them nice and pointy to paint these small little numbers, and obviously they poisoned themselves with radium, and the companies did not believe that the radium was dangerous or that they were at all responsible for these girls that got very, very sick and were dying. It was a very, very depressing story, and honestly, I am really upset that I didn't hear about that, because I feel that that was a really important part of history. And also, I mean, there's a lot of history we're not taught, but just it's quite the story of corporate greed and not taking care of your employees. And it was a horrifying read, but really just fascinating and inspiring, with just how these women responded. And despite how ill they got, they joined together and fought these corporations. And to some extent, they were looking for payments for medical bills, but they were also fighting just to ensure that the companies would be stopped from doing this to other people. So yeah, basically I am super paranoid about paints now. I mean, I know for the most part the paints I use don't have heavy metals and obviously don't have radium, but like I realized that the red in the top of that palette that you could see, I for some reason was thinking I had a vermilion in this palette, and it's not. It's a cadmium, and I try to be like hyper aware of like if I have palettes with cadmium or cobalt, or I guess those are the big two for me. I either don't use them, or when I use them very consciously, and you know, keep that water, let it dry out and dispose of it responsibly. Use a paper towel so I could dispose of that responsibly. And generally I don't do that because I'm lazy, so I'd rather just not use it because I'm not even sure what a local like how to handle toxic waste disposal around here, so it's easiest just not to do it. I guess it's the dump, like batteries and everything else, they handle it. But yeah, I have to be really careful about that because not the color I thought I was using. Might take some paints out and actually make this a smaller palette, and since I definitely don't use the whole palette ever. But yeah, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, certain paints are made with different heavy metals that are actually not good for the environment, and while watercolor generally you water things down enough where it shouldn't have impacts, it's best not to flush them, or flush them very carefully with lots of extra water to make sure it doesn't pollute the water tanks and everything, your sewage system. And then also like the paper towels and stuff, or whatever you're using to collect that, you might not want to wash with your normal towels. If you do a fabric towel, in terms of paper towels, technically, I'm guessing it's all location based, but technically you're not supposed to put some of that stuff in the landfill either. So yeah, there's appropriate disposal for toxic materials. It's the same as like when people talk about painting with oils. You have to go dispose of that properly. It's one reason, one of many reasons why I'm afraid to use oils. But yeah, just making me extra conscious of those paints and the potential danger they pose. So that was a complete random tangent, but it's been on my mind quite a bit lately for obvious reasons. Definitely trying to keep my future palettes less toxic. Like I avoid buying specific paints because I don't want to have cobalts and cadmiums in my palette, because there's good enough replacements. Cadmiums are pretty amazing in how strong they are, and like the cadmium yellows being like opaque, which is really rare for yellow, but I don't know. I'm paranoid. You know that one day you're gonna accidentally take a sip of your dirty water and no, I haven't done that, but I have cleaned my brush in coffee once, so you never know. But yeah, otherwise, since I already started rambling about books, I joined a readathon. My friend Rai pointed out this Realmathon reading challenge. She shared a video with me. I'm sure there were plenty of videos because there's lots of people, lots of booktubers involved, and I'm sorry, I don't really follow booktube or BookTok or any of those because I just can't keep up with all this stuff anymore. I could barely keep up with my own stuff. But yeah, it's just a fun little reading challenge for the month of April, where you're kind of in different groups based on like the genre of books you're repping, and you don't have to read just in your genre. And then when you finish a book, you get to report it and get points either like for your team or against other teams. So I'll probably be trying to read more this month. I mean, I read quite a bit anyway, but between the new Brandon Sanderson Secret Project coming out on April 1st and this event, I just want to read. I want to be reading right now. I'm about halfway through Secret Project 2, and it's different, but I'm enjoying it. And I started Sabriel this morning by Garth Nix, and I'm only this morning, like a little bit ago, I've only read the first chapter, but I'm already hooked. I'm very excited to see where that story goes. I just finished the Golgotha series by R.S. Belcher while painting this painting. So got that series done, or at least as much of it that's out currently done. And I want to finish, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this, the Daevabad trilogy. I've read City of Brass, can't think of the second book's name right now, Kingdom of Copper, and then now I just need to read Empire of Gold. So got lots of books to read. I'm very excited. In a very bookish mood lately. So it's getting hot outside. So Florida, everyone else is still snowy or cold, and it's 80 something, getting up into the 90s already. It's don't want to be outside. I did do a couple little tiny plein air pieces this weekend, but I'm not participating in plein air bowl. I just, once again, don't have the time, but I do want to do a couple just to be somewhat involved. It was too hot today though. But yeah, try to get a couple more done over the next few weekends. I know next weekend is Easter, so I'm going to be meeting up with my family and eating a lot of food, so that should be fun. And otherwise, yeah, not much going on, just lots of work. I keep thinking it's about to end, and hopefully things really do settle down soon. But at least the development craze pre-release is done. Now we just have to release and we're good to go. So different kind of stress, different kind of chaos. But yeah, so that's my rambles for the week and my, I don't know, not vampire dude. I did enjoy working with this paper. I don't know why I left this pause in, but I will go clean that up. So with that said, that's probably enough time for this video. I did have to hit it with the heat gun, which I'm probably still doing even after the edit I'm going to make after filming this voiceover, and then the paint peel, then some more sparkle looks, and that should be it for this week. So I hope you're doing well and taking care of yourselves. Get some rest, because that's what I want to do, so you should rest too. Rest for me, please. And I hope to see you in a future video. Take care of yourselves. Bye.